What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Former Taiwan People's Party chair, candidate for president and Taipei Mayor Wen-je is facing a hearing on Monday morning that might put him back behind bars. It comes just after he was released on bail a week ago. Our reporter Irene Lin joins us live from outside the Taipei District Court. Irene, how are things looking?
Yvonne, we're still waiting for the court to decide whether Wen-je will be sent back to jail again. Now, he was only recently released on a $2 million bail this last Monday after spending a year in detention. Now, he's currently on trial for corruption and embezzlement for political donations. Now, the district court offered the bail initially earlier this month, believing that the chances of colluding with others and tampering with evidence are pretty low at this point. But as Wen-je and his supporters believe that this will be the end of a year-long detention, the prosecutors have decided to appeal his release. They believe that it's necessary to keep detained as they finish interviewing some key witnesses in this investigation. Especially has met up with one witness during his release, which is a violation of the terms of his bail. Now, this would be the second time that was bailed, then sent back to jail almost right away. His first bail was revoked in January. Now, earlier today, we saw about a dozen of his diehard supporters in front of this courthouse to show their support for Ke's fight against a third detention. Now, it's no surprise as Wen-je has been an influential political figure in Taiwanese politics in recent years. Now, many of his supporters believe that Wen-je's case is politically manipulated.
Thank you, Irene. That was our reporter Irene Lin live from outside the Taipei District Court. Taiwan's foreign minister has rejected Chinese government criticism of an exhibit of Chinese historic objects on loan in Prague.
其实真正去中国化是中共政权的，其实他们是用这个马列毛泽东思想，他们是这个唯物主义无神论，他们只是想要垄断对中华文化的解释，可是反而在他们统治下，中华文化是死了。那中华文化因为漂洋过海到新的土壤上的时候，往往就有可能保存，甚至有了新的生命。
These remarks come after China accused Taiwan of using Chinese cultural assets to push what it called cultural Taiwan independence. The artifacts were loaned to Prague by Taiwan's National Palace Museum. They were brought to Taiwan in the late 1940s by the nationalist government during the communist takeover of China. Lin says the collection is a global cultural asset and that Taiwan is using culture to make friends, while China uses it to serve political aims. Pacific Island nations have pledged their commitment to Taiwan's participation in their annual meeting. The Pacific Islands Forum released a statement following the 5-day summit last Friday, reaffirming the 1992 decision on Taiwan's inclusion as a development partner. Taiwan's foreign ministry has welcomed the move. Unlike in previous years, Taiwan, along with the United States and China, was not invited to attend this year's forum. Media reports suggested that Beijing had pressured host nation Solomon Islands to block Taiwan's participation. Taiwan's defense ministry says it detected a flurry of Chinese military activity around Taiwan in the 24 hours leading up to Monday morning. The ministry reported 26 aircraft, including fighter jets and drones. 23 of those entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This area is not Taiwan's airspace, but acts as a buffer zone for defensive purposes. It also spotted 9 Chinese Navy vessels and 1 official ship operating in the waters around Taiwan. This activity comes just days after U.S. and British warships sailed through the Taiwan Strait, prompting protest from Beijing. Taiwan's agriculture minister is leading a trade mission to the United States in a bid to reduce U.S. tariffs. The delegation will start in Washington and then split into groups focusing on Taiwan's top U.S. farm imports, beef, soybeans, corn, and wheat. They will travel to rural states to meet with industry groups and local officials. Taiwan runs a trade surplus with the U.S. largely due to its chip exports, yet it is the 8th biggest market for U.S. agricultural products. Some U.S. farm exports, such as pork, have been the subject of protests and trade restrictions by Taiwan in recent years. The group will be in the U.S. until September 27th. The U.S. and China are sitting down for another round of trade talks in Europe, touching on everything from tariffs to TikTok. But analysts are not optimistic about a breakthrough in trade tensions between the world's two largest economies. John Van Trieste reports.
How did the meetings go today, Mr. Secretary?
U.S. and Chinese delegations take their leave Sunday after a day of talks in Madrid, Spain. It's the fourth time in 4 months the U.S. and China have met in Europe, trying to salvage one of the world's biggest trade relationships amid geopolitical tensions and U.S. tariffs. As the motorcades depart, it's not clear how far the two sides have progressed. They have a lot to work through. Trade ties are strained, a 90-day tariff truce is running out, and in his quest to end the Russia-Ukraine war, U.S. President Donald Trump wants U.S. allies to put their own tariffs on China to pressure it into scrapping imports of Russian oil. And then there's the matter on U.S. President Donald Trump's mind. China-owned social media app TikTok, used by roughly 170 million Americans. The U.S. government's been pushing for the app's Chinese owners to sell its U.S. operations or face a shutdown. So far, there have been 4 extensions of the deadline for the sale. Trump says the app's fate rests with China.
They're negotiating TikTok right now. We may let it die, or we may, I don't know, it depends, up to China. It doesn't matter too much. I'd like to do it for the kids that like it. I mean, selfishly speaking, I did very well on TikTok, and I got the youth vote. I got numbers that nobody's ever even come close to in the Republican Party, nobody.
There's still a second day of talks Monday to sort through these sticky issues, but experts aren't optimistic. And with China launching an anti-dumping probe into the U.S. chip industry and a so-called anti-discrimination probe into U.S. measures towards China's chip industry, there's a chance trade friction could grow even further. Chris Ma and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The U.S. has recently rejected China's claim that World War II documents, such as the Cairo Declaration, determined Taiwan belongs to China, sparking discussion in Taiwan. Alan Liu has more.
The U.S. is stepping into the debates on Taiwan sovereignty. The American Institute in Taiwan, Washington's de facto embassy, says Beijing mischaracterizes World War II-era documents like the Cairo Declaration to claim Taiwan as part of China. It was responding to media questions about Chinese pressure on Taiwan and called Beijing's narrative false, saying none of those documents determine Taiwan's political status. In response, Taiwan's foreign ministry also accused China of distorting the World War II narrative.
中方不实法律论述的意图是将台湾孤立于国际社会之外，并且限制其他国家和台湾互动的主权选择等等更广泛行动的一环。
In Taiwan, reactions to AIT's remarks have been mixed. The Kuomintang-friendly Ma Ying-jeou Foundation released a statement saying AIT's new position contradicts Washington's long-standing policy, which emphasizes no change in its stance on Taiwan sovereignty. The organization added that shifting to a Taiwan status undetermined view threatens Taiwan's security, as China hasn't ruled out using force to achieve unification with Taiwan. But Democratic Progressive Party lawmaker Wang Dingyu told reporters that Washington is responding to China's increased legal warfare tactics aimed at isolating Taiwan. Over the past few years, the U.S. has been emphasizing that its policy on cross-strait relations has not changed. In 2022, the State Department said the following.
One China policy has not changed. We don't take a position on sovereignty, but the policy that has been at the crux of our approach to Taiwan since 1979 remains in effect today. What we want to see continue, what we want to see preserved, is the status quo.
And even for the recent statement, former AIT chairman Richard Bush told TaiwanPlus that it remains aligned with the U.S. government's stance on Taiwan's legal status. And analysts say AIT's statement isn't exactly rare, but expresses the U.S.'s long-standing position on the Taiwan Straits more explicitly.
美国的立场并没有任何的一个改变，所以之所以选这个时机点，我认为说还是主要在于中国大陆不断的在过去这段时间与这个国际社会上面 对于世界其他国家进行这个相关的这个误导跟大外宣的一个做法。
The timing of AIT's remarks, also noteworthy, coming just after China's massive parade marking the end of World War II, and Taiwan's recent exclusion from the Pacific Islands Forum. Delphin Chen and Ellen Liu for TaiwanPlus.
On average, people in Taiwan will earn more money than their South Korean counterparts this year. New data from South Korea shows Taiwan's per capita GDP is on track to surpass South Korea's in 2025. It suggests South Korea's 2025 per capita GDP will be around $37,430. That's lower than Taiwan's $38,066 per capita, gap of about $600. This will be the first time since 2003 that Taiwan's economy has outperformed South Korea in this measure. Experts say the reversal is being driven by slowing growth in South Korea and booming AI and tech sector exports in Taiwan.
AI 半导体成长的快速，今年台湾的经济成长率会到4.5左右，韩国大概只有1%，包括你的 GDP 增加快，币值又升得比较快，今年就有机会超过韩国。
Taiwan's GDP grew 8% year-on-year in the second quarter, while South Korea recorded just 0.7% growth amid weak domestic demand and deeper structural issues. Scientists have found an unexpected way of fighting methane emissions from cattle farming, which is a major source of this greenhouse gas. As John Van Trieste reports, the solution comes from under the sea.
These flasks of goopy algae are part of a breakthrough in the fight against greenhouse gas emissions. Researchers at Taiwan's Fisheries Research Institute have found that adding small amounts of the algae genus Asparagopsis into cattle feed can cut the methane that cows emit by over 90%. The secret is in the way it alters cows' gut flora, as one researcher explains.
海门冬呢，它最主要的这个抑制甲烷的这个主成分，溴仿的一个主要成分，它可以去使这个瘤胃的菌相是比较趋向于降低甲烷的这个菌相的生成。
The trouble with research into this algae so far is that there isn't much of it around Taiwan. It can be found in some nearby waters, but it tends to disappear in summer. And it's taken several years of lab work to figure out how to grow the algae in the quantities needed for cattle feed on a mass scale. The trick was finding a way to get the algae to thrive, despite competition from many rival species.
会有对应的一个纯花培养的一个方式，去把它做这个汰除，最后只保留我们要的这个4分孢子体，让它在这里面是占据优势的。
And this is more than a scientific breakthrough. It's a business opportunity. Methane is the second most emitted greenhouse gas, and cattle farming is a major source of it. The industry looks forward to using cattle feed with algae to cut emissions. They can then market milk, for instance, as a low methane product.
甲烷的排放量一直是一个蛮大的一个痛点，能够大量的减低这个碳排放量的时候，都是非常一个令人振奋的消息。
The market for fighting methane from cattle farming is now worth $3 billion worldwide. And right now, there are only 7 companies with the tech needed to do the job. Now, Taiwan could soon be home to an 8th. Howard Zhang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has won bronze at the Under-18 Baseball World Cup in Japan. The team edged out South Korea 3-2 in the third-place playoff game. The game was a tight back-and-forth battle, but Jiang Ting-yi delivered a crucial hit at the top of the 7th inning, bringing in the winning run. Taiwan has now finished in the top 3 at the event for 4 years in a row. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we head to Toronto, where hundreds of Canadian Taiwanese wore Taiwan Day jerseys at a Blue Jays game. I'm Yvonne. Take care, and I'll see you next time.